We need to stop overreacting to every Chicago Bears stadium update because even the latest developments on potentially moving towards Indiana are a bit overblown and far from a done deal.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. On the show today, we'll check in on the latest Chicago Bears stadium updates, where, again, there's a wild overreaction, even though nothing formally has actually happened yet, and I'm still not convinced that they're actually going to move the team to Indiana across the border, but we'll talk about where that situation stands and what might be next here. Then we'll take a look at the Bears' needs this offseason on the offensive side of the ball, what they need to do to keep things rolling under Ben Johnson there, where I think the offensive line is a spot that you can never stop tinkering. You always have to keep building and adding as much as you can there. And the Bears may also need to do some restocking at the weapons around Caleb Williams. Nothing drastic, but maybe filling in some gaps potentially there, especially if they end up making a bigger move with a trade or release at any of those positions. I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Bears podcast your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Well, we got another big Bears stadium update on Thursday as the Indiana legislature is moving forward with legislation to attract the Chicago Bears there. There was reportedly a canceled meeting with Illinois state lawmakers, and all of a sudden, oh man, the Bears are moving to Hammond, Indiana, and are going to cross the border and build the stadium there. Holy crap, end of the world, everything is changing. What is Kevin Warren doing? They're ruining the team, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, man, we haven't learned yet throughout this whole process, like how every move is calculated here to play the leverage of both sides. All the Bears are wanting to do here is get the best possible deal, whether that's from Indiana or Illinois. They are intentionally pitting the two state governments against each other to try and get the best deal, which, I suppose most businesses in their place might try and do the same type of thing, but everyone's throwing Kevin Warren under the bus. George McCaskey's getting thrown under the bus now, and they're saying, look at how he's botched it. I'm like, man, we still haven't even seen how this was all going to come together when it's all said and done. Like, we're watching it in the middle here and trying to evaluate the whole thing. Like, I just think we take too much stock in any little update and assume everything is drastically changed or drastically, shifting. Because now, even as the day went on Thursday, Illinois lawmakers met and made some more progress behind closed doors. I mean, everything is constantly moving. But I think there's a few things that are important to kind of take stock of here. Is that, first of all, I don't believe the Chicago Bears really want to go to Indiana. I think they are open to the idea of going to Indiana, and if push comes to shove, they would legitimately consider it. Like, I don't want to say that I don't think it's a total bluff, but I also don't think it's their preference. I don't think the Chicago Bears want to go to Indiana. They would prefer to keep the Chicago Bears in Illinois, preferably I think in Chicago, but now probably Arlington Heights is more likely the option there. Like, they will go to Indiana if that's how it lines up and that's truly the best option for them. But I don't believe that will be the case. There are a lot of things around the site in Hammond, Indiana, that make that a much more challenging location than Arlington Heights. And to me, it pokes a lot of holes into how serious they may actually be about going there. But they have to show as much interest as they can in Indiana in order to pressure Illinois lawmakers and state and local governments to give the Bears what they want. Like, I think the leverage is real, even if I think we can all reasonably assume they don't actually want to go to Indiana. I mean, think about Kevin Warren, he's going to be the guy who moved the Bears to Indiana. George McCaskey, after Virginia passes away, he's going to be the guy who moves them to Indiana. Like, is that going to be the legacy they want to have stewarding the Chicago Bears organization? I just don't think they truly, lie detector under oath. They don't want to go to Indiana. It's not to say that they 100% won't, but I think their first choice is and will always be to stay in Illinois. And Illinois knows that. And that's why this leverage game is important, because there's a game of chicken of the Bears keep flirting with Indiana and Illinois keeps saying, they're not exactly saying, we dare you to go, but they keep sort of wondering, well, you're not really going to go to Indiana, right? And all of a sudden, the Bears keep pushing it more and more, and then you get some movement in the state legislature in Illinois, and I still think this comes back around, and whether it probably would be Arlington Heights, but I still do think the Bears will remain in Illinois. So much of this is noise and political posturing. The Bears put out a statement about the positive developments in Indiana to send a message to the state lawmakers and I don't want to say to rile the fan base up necessarily, but they want this reaction, right? All of the reaction it creates pressure on somebody. It doesn't even necessarily matter what your reaction is. Whether you're excited about them going to Indiana or mad about them going to Indiana, reaction is what they need. Reaction from the public equals pressure on lawmakers equals better deal for the Chicago Bears. But the thing I keep coming back to in all of this discussion is like, yes, the Bears have gone to Indiana and have met with Indiana people, but the amount of money the Bears have spent on putting a stadium in Indiana is, it's probably not zero, but it's functionally pretty close to zero. In the meantime, the Bears spent, $200 million buying the Arlington Heights property. Like, at the end of the day, follow the money. The Bears have put significant money already out of their pockets in the potential for a stadium site at Arlington Heights. They have not put very much, if any, money out of their pockets in a stadium plan for Indiana or something, downtown. Like, at the end of the day, they have shown you with their dollars and their actions what they want to do, what their preference is, and what in all reality they are planning to do. And that is build a state-of-the-art stadium facility on the Arlington Heights property. Like, sure, yes, they could still sell that property and try and get the money back, but like, the fact that they've took that step to invest in that site is the most concrete thing they've done anywhere in this stadium build process. And that's what should speak the loudest, instead of all of the noise and posturing that we're getting anytime there's lawmakers talking and, decision makers making waves and movement. Plus, I do think even if they do go to Indiana, there's going to be a huge overreaction, and then everyone will get over it. Like, people will be mad, and I get it, and I totally understand. I'm not saying you shouldn't be mad, but then like 5 years after that stadium is open, people won't really care that much anymore. You're not going to lose a bunch of Bears fans that won't root for the team because they moved 20 miles away. Like, yeah, okay, they crossed state lines, whatever. But like, I ultimately think everyone likes to be really mad and emotional about it now. But like, just like with the Jets and the Giants being in New Jersey, or the Dallas Cowboys being in Arlington, or the San Francisco 49ers being in Santa Clara, like, it sucks. People get mad, and then they get over it. They'll still be the Chicago Bears, and you won't be able to stay mad at the Chicago Bears forever because you love them and you love football. So hopefully we can just kind of stop overreacting, and most importantly, hopefully we can just wrap this up. So we can stop talking about it, stop reading about it, stop thinking about it, and just like put shovels in a site somewhere, lock it in so we can all get on with our lives and get back to like real things that matter, that affect the football team, like what they're going to do in free agency and the NFL draft, where there's not a lot of guys on the roster on offense that are set to hit free agency. There doesn't need to be a bunch of big moves, or maybe zero big moves on offense. I think keeping the continuity there is going to be important, but also you can't just stay stagnant either and just say, oh, we'll just run it back exactly the same and not try and do anything different. So we'll take a look at where the needs are on offense and what the Bears need to do to address them next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. FanDuel is going to give you a profit boost. And if you use that on any NBA future bet, you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, the whole experience. Flights, tickets, you name it, they've got it. And if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or just grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it can also send you to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA futures bet and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making the Locked On Bears podcast your first listen today. Whether it's your first time ever tuning in or it's your 500th time tuning in, we really appreciate every time you make us a part of your day. If you want to take your listening to the next level, you can get access to an ad-free audio feed of the Locked On Bears podcast. It's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the major podcasting platforms, and you'll get access to an exclusive Locked On Bears listeners group chat in the Locked On Everydayers Club Discord server. If you want to check it out, you can go to the website lockedonbears.supercast.com, or you can always find that link in the show notes descriptions, however you're tuning into Locked On Bears. But with the stadium stuff, hopefully we can, move on and get on with our lives soon enough. We turn our attention back to this Bears roster and making them a better team in 2026, where offensively, you don't need to do a lot. You need to do very little, but you can't just do nothing. You can't just sit and say, hey, let's run it back with all the exact same guys top to bottom, because then, it's a little bit stagnant, it's a little bit stale, and you do need to keep things fresh and stay proactive in continuing to strengthen your roster and build up your depth and give you the best team top to bottom, not just, the guys at the top. But like when you look at the Bears list of upcoming free agents on their roster, you're not really seeing any offensive starters on that list. I mean, I guess technically, if you want to be pedantic about it, Braxton Jones was your week one starter at left tackle. So technically from your week one starting lineup, your starting left tackle, I guess, is entering free agency. But obviously, functionally, he was a backup most of the year and isn't, I guess he could still return, but isn't going to be your starter again to begin next season. But like your higher offensive line, your top three receivers, your top two tight ends, your top two running backs, your top two QBs, like they're all under contract for next season. Your main free agents on offense are, third string quarterback Case Keenum, third string running back Travis Homer, your number 4 and 5 wide receivers, Olamide Zaccheaus and Devin Duvernay, your number 3 tight end Durham Smythe, and then some of your backup offensive linemen, Braxton Jones, Ryan Bates, Jordan McFadden. Like, all things considered, there's not a ton you have to major hole address on offense. Like, you could, in theory, re-sign all those guys and run it back, but I want them to be a little bit more proactive about it, especially, I think, along the offensive line. That's, to me, offensive priority number one this offseason, twofold. One, we don't know who's going to be available for you to start at left tackle week one. Ozzie Trapillo's injury is expected to keep him out for some portion of next season, and whenever he does get back, he's probably not going to be 100%. And so how the Bears evaluate their left tackle room will shape a lot of what they want to do this offseason for the offense, if that needs to be like priority position number one. We've talked about it a little bit on this podcast, so I don't need to rehash the whole thing, but like it's a question of, do they trust Theo Benedict to just plug in and start at left tackle the way he did for 6 or 8 games last season and say, hey, he can get you by until Ozzie Trapillo is healthy, / he will also compete with Karan Amagaji, and between those two guys, they can get you by until Ozzie Trapillo is healthy? Or do they look at it and say, hey, let's re-sign Braxton Jones to a 1-year deal and start him at left tackle so he can enter free agency again next year and try and cash in on a bigger deal because he didn't play so much this year. And then, when Ozzie Trapillo comes back, he could replace Braxton Jones if Jones is struggling, or if Jones is playing well, you could just let Trapillo heal up for a whole year and not have to rush him back. Or Do they say no Braxton Jones, but also we need to go out and get some kind of somebody with some veteran experience at left tackle? Because otherwise it's Trapillo, Benedett, and Karan Amagaji. Amagaji being the most years of those three in the NFL, and I think Theo Benedett may have the most snaps at this point in the NFL, but nonetheless, a very inexperienced left tackle group. I don't see the Bears using an early draft pick on a left tackle because you just use a second round pick on Ozzie Trapillo. I wouldn't completely rule it out, but I think if anything, they would go cheaper, veteran, older free agent on a 1-year deal to kind of get you by during Ozzie Trapillo's injury recovery. And then, that player could then move on after 1 year and Trapillo could resume and return to that starting left tackle role for the future beyond that point. But beyond just the left tackle question as well, I want to see the Bears be proactive about bolstering the offensive line depth in particular, because I don't think they were particularly thin this past season, but it's just something that you can't take for granted. We talked earlier this week about free agents to re-sign. I want them to go out and re-sign Jordan McFadden, the backup guard who started against the Rams in the playoff game at left guard, but has played some tackle before, and they kind of see him with some inside and outside versatility there. Bring him back. So he and Luke Newman are your two backup guards, and you feel pretty good about that. Your backup center, Ryan Bates, is set to hit free agency. I don't know that he's shown me anything that makes him a priority to bring back, but you do need a backup center. So whether that's Ryan Bates or somebody else, go get somebody that you trust, not just an undrafted free agent type that you just kind of say, well, he's the backup, so who cares? You never know. We've seen Drew Dahlman miss time with injuries earlier in his career. We've certainly seen Jonah Jackson miss time with injuries early in his career. You want to be prepared with offensive line depth you can trust. I think I can trust Jordan McFadden. I think there's reasons to like Luke Newman, but get me another offensive tackle that I can trust. Get me a center I can trust, and help me feel like I've got someone I can trust that could fill in at any of the 5 offensive line spots in case of injury. It doesn't need to be 5 backup offensive linemen that are all starting caliber players, but out of my backups, I need a guy. It can be the same player can fill more than one holes, but I need someone that can start at left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, or right tackle that as a backup that I would trust to fill in those roles. So McFadden, I might trust at left and right guard, and Benedett, I might trust at left tackle and right tackle, or you could get a center that you might trust at the guard spots. But I want to have a clear depth chart option to say, hey, if this starter gets hurt, I've got a guy I know that I could plug into that spot and feel really good that not that they're going to be just as good as the starter or that they're going to, totally save your season, but that for a game or two, you're going to be just fine there. And potentially for even more than a game or two. You just have to be prepared for offensive line injuries. The Bears were remarkably healthy up front this season, and you're not going to be able to count on that necessarily every single year. So keep investing in building the offensive line. Draft offensive lineman on day 3 for sure. I'm not using a first, second, third round pick on a left tackle, but I would draft a left tackle, a guard, a center, any of the above, anywhere after the 3rd round, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. They don't have a 6th round pick, but you get the idea. Keep investing in the offensive line, developing young players, bolstering that depth more, because it was great this season and we love that, but you never know how long it's going to stay that way. So always prepare something is going to go wrong, especially in that group in particular that's so critical to the offense and to Caleb Williams' success there. I also want to see the Bears be proactive around Caleb Williams with the weapons. Of course, everybody's under contract and said to come back, so that's great, but I do want to be planning ahead for both injuries and also just the long-term future there, where even if they don't get traded or cut this offseason, we don't know how many years DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift are still going to be with the Bears. So they better start planning ahead for a future without those guys, and that can include free agency and the NFL draft this year. So we'll take a look at what the needs, and maybe needs is a strong word, but what the needs are at the skill positions on offense next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy, and welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft, where we're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. And for me, it is the classic, it is the original berry-flavored 5-Hour Energy. That's the flavor I associate with 5-Hour Energy, the big, bold berry flavor. It's fruity with notes of raspberry and blackberry, and it just gives you this smooth sweetness without being overly sugary, and a clean finish with minimal aftertaste. Man, it just gets you the energy you need right away. But they've got some other great flavors too that could be real sleepers in this mix, including the return of cotton candy, the delicious swirl of sugary clouds, a fruity twist, and a hint of vanilla. It's the sweet side of tasty caffeine, really a throwback flavor with a boost. But whatever your favorite flavor is, you can check it out at 5-Hour Energy. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. So I think offensive line deserves to be priority number one for this Bears offense this offseason. But then from there, like I want to keep investing in wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. And I think in twofold here. First of all, if you trade DJ Moore, then wide receiver becomes a much bigger priority to address. If you trade Cole Kmet, tight end becomes then a much bigger priority to address. And if you, I guess you probably end up releasing DeAndre Swift, or I guess if you traded him, but you move on from DeAndre Swift, then obviously running back becomes a huge priority. So that's kind of like the caveats there. I still don't really expect the Bears to be eager to move off of any of those three guys. And I still think they probably keep all three for now, barring, the perfect deal coming around. But they're not going to be, I think, aggressively shopping them off. It's just more like, well, if the right thing is available, they could. So if we operate for now under the assumption that those guys are indeed all back because they are all under contract, then I think from there, I look at the number 4 wide receiver spot as something that needs to be addressed. And I also would like to see the number 3 tight end spot be addressed as well, because you have guys potentially departing via free agency, and also I think a lot of room to upgrade from what you did have this past season. So like at wide receiver, you've still got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. I don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money on a wide receiver. But with Olamide Zaccheaus set to hit free agency, Devin Duvernay set to hit free agency, it leaves Jahdae Walker as your potential number 4 receiver. And if you just promoted him, that's not the end of the world. But I again want to be a little bit more proactive and not just say, he'll get the job done, because you never know if Rome Odunze misses the second half of the season again. And then now Jahdae Walker's one of your top 3 receivers. Again, we liked Walker a lot, but he's an undrafted rookie. Like, this is not somebody that you want to have to rely on as a feature part of your offense. So whether that's, drafting another receiver in the 4th, 5th round, or going out and getting a veteran, somebody that, Ben Johnson has some familiar with, a couple of former Lions receivers are hitting the market. I mean, we'll talk about specific free agent targets in the coming days, but I would like a better version of Olamide Zaccheaus, knowing that this person is going to be your number 4 receiver. It's still going to be Moore, Odunze, and Burden 1, 2, 3 in some order. And then this guy is the fill-in that's still going to get some real playing time, and you want them to be a playmaker, but you're just hoping to get maybe a little bit more than what Zaccheaus was able to give you. Similar conversation at the number 3 tight end spot, where Durham Smythe set to be a free agent. He was a frequent member of this offensive package, right? They went to 3 tight ends a lot, and even on some 2 tight end packages, he would be there. He lined up at fullback sometimes, and I just don't think he was very good. Was he terrible? I guess not, but okay, how good can you expect your number 3 tight end to be? I don't know. I guess I expect him to be a better blocker. I wasn't expecting him to be some kind of dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield, but I just thought he was average at best blocking. And if you're going to be the number 3 tight end, can you at least do that well? You can find Mercedes Lewis still out there at 43 or whatever he is nowadays. I would like there to be something a little bit more there. I would highly consider drafting another tight end. It's a really deep tight end draft class. I'm not doing it before the 4th round, but you got to prepare for a future without Cole Kmet. Might not be a present without Cole Kmet, but how many more years realistically will Cole Kmet be here? 1? 2? How many more years will DJ Moore be here? I mean, he's under contract for a while, but so at both spots, I want to operate as though, hey, I need some long-term planning here. Draft a guy, or you could be a free agent number 3 tight end as well, but do I have so that I don't have to immediately try and replace them when I do move on from them at some point, where it doesn't create this huge hole when you trade Cole Kmet because, oh, well, you got Loveland and you had drafted another tight end in the 5th round and he's developing, so he can be the number 2, and then you can sign a number 3 and you feel like, all right, we're going to be fine after this. Or same thing, next year you trade DJ Moore. It's like, yeah, but you got Burden and you got Adunze, and that veteran you signed last year was pretty good. Or you drafted another guy in the 5th round and he was looking pretty good, plus Janae Walker. Like, smooth those transitions, ease that potential burden now by investing in that depth and trying to stay proactive. And then we can throw the running back spot in here too, because your number 3 running back, Travis Homer, is set to hit free agency. Obviously, he's very confident in Swift and Monangai as a 1-2 there. Would love to draft a running back, again, like later rather than earlier, just to kind of, again, if this might be DeAndre Swift's last year with the Chicago Bears. He's in the last year of his current contract, and I don't know that they're going to want to go give him another big deal or an extension from what he's playing well, but just, I don't know that they're going to give a second significant contract to DeAndre Swift. And so who's going to be your starting running back in 2027? Is it Kyle Monangai? Maybe. Could you draft another running back that gives you another swing at the fences there? And then you can go through this year evaluating, okay, do you want to bring back Swift, or could Monangai and this new running back take over fully? Like, it's nice to start that process now, as opposed to we get to next spring, DeAndre Swift's a free agent, Monangai is the only good running back on your roster, and you're like, we got to rebuild the running back room. Where did everybody go? It's like, well, if you start drafting and signing with that sort of longer term future in mind, it isn't even long term. We're just talking a year, to get a year ahead of the curve on a few of these positions. Like, that's how I want the Bears to approach the offense this offseason. I don't want to shake it up and trade away Kmet and DJ Moore and bring in a new number 1 receiver, or another big tight end, and shake everything up. Like, no, I want guys to be in Ben Johnson's system and learn that and master that and build that up, and not just have to have somebody come in brand new and rebuild that cohesion and connection with Caleb Williams, that chemistry, the timing and everything. Like, that all takes time. I want to have as much of that around Caleb in place, but then just kind of keep filling in the cracks around and underneath and let them then grow and develop with Caleb, so that when you do have change, the guys you're replacing your departing players with have already been here, instead of having to go and get outside guys that now have to get up to speed and catch up and play from behind a little bit there. That to me is the approach on offense. Whereas, as we talked on yesterday's podcast, the defense, very different approach. I think you're going to see new linebackers. I think you're going to see at least one new safety. You're going to see a new corner. You're going to see new defensive linemen. Like, that's a group they want to turn over a little bit more and get more Dennis Allen's guys in there. They've got Ben Johnson's guys on offense, so keep them here. Don't be so eager to get rid of a good receiver in DJ Moore or a good tight end in Cole Kmet. You can do it if you can get something really good for him, but you're not getting rid of him for the sake of getting rid of him. Keep this group intact. Fill in, at the bottom of the depth chart and let it kind of grow up from there. But you don't want to have to keep putting new pieces on top to then make things more difficult for Caleb Williams. So I think it'll be a quiet offseason for the offensive side of the ball, but a busy one for the defensive side of the ball. And whenever they make any big moves, I guess that they just released linebacker Eamon Ogbongbemiga for some salary cap savings, and that worth doing a whole podcast about it. But we're going to keep you on top of all the big moves the Chicago Bears make all offseason long right here on the Locked On Bears podcast. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, because that's going to be the best way to keep up with all of our daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you want to join the Everydayers Club for an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Bears, the website is lockedonbears.supercast.com if you want to find out more. But you can keep tuning in to Locked On Bears the same way you do every day. We're free and available on all platforms, YouTube and all the podcast distributors there. We really appreciate that you make us a part of your day and give us your ear to talk some Bears football, hopefully distract you a little bit or give you an escape from whatever's going on in real life, step into football world for a half hour, and hopefully by the time you wrap up every episode of Locked On Bears, you leave with another opportunity to bear down.